Hi my loves and welcome back to my channel. So as you can tell from the title of this video is going to be all about my Hajj experience. I did ask Fazan if he wanted to film with me. He was like, no, you go ahead and do it. So it's just me on my own talking about everything that we got up to and what the whole experience entailed. If this is the first time you're ever watching any of my videos, then make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you watch regularly, then make sure you remember to give this a thumbs up and comment whatever you think about it down below. So I am going to try and cover like what we did, like what the whole experience was like, and then answer all of your questions as well, because whilst we were out there, I got loads of comments on my Instagram pictures, but because like the Wi-Fi connection wasn't great and I wasn't really checking my phone that often, I didn't get a chance to respond. And I know I got a lot of DMs as well, so I did give you guys the opportunity to ask any questions on my Insta stories, and there was a few questions that came up again and again and again, so those ones I will definitely be answering, but I will go through them in a minute once I've kind of gone through what I wanted to cover myself. So basically one of the things that I got asked a lot, and one of the things that I didn't know properly before I went, was what the Hudge process actually is. And like no matter how much you read, it's actually still a little bit confusing, and now that I've done it I'm like, oh my god, it's so simple, but everything that I was reading before I went just made me feel so confused. So there are 3 types of Hajj that you can do. The first type is where so when you do Hajj, you have to be in a state of ihram, which is basically like there's a certain set of rules that you have to follow, like you can't cut or shave any hair, you can't cut your nails, there's a few different things. And for men, they have to wear 2 pieces of clothing that can't be stitched, which is why a lot of, like, you see a lot of men just wearing like the white materials or the white towels like on the top and the bottom. That's like the state of ihram for men. For women, you can wear stitched material, but there's, like I said, there's other rules to follow. So there are 3 types of Hajj. The first type of Hajj is where you do your Umrah, because you have to be in a state of ihram for Umrah as well. So you do your Umrah, you complete your Umrah, you take off your ihram, and you put on a fresh ihram for Hajj. The second one is where you go, you do your Umrah, and then in the same clothing you stay in the, well, for women I guess you can change, even for men you can change the actual clothing, but it's like considered one state of ihram, so you don't complete the Umrah and then start the Hajj, you do it all in one. And then the third is where you just do Hajj and no Umrah. And the first 2 you have to give Qurbani as well, so that's the slaughtering of animal on the Eid day. And for the third there is no Qurbani. So I didn't know that there was 3 types before I went, and like the girls in my camp were explaining this to me, so I thought I'd explain it to you guys just to make it a little bit clearer. So the Hajj itself, I won't go into the Umrah aspect because I'm sure most of you know, because it's a little bit simpler, but the Hajj itself I believe is 5 days. So I'm going to tell you guys what days it was, as well as try and remember the Islamic calendar days. So I think Eid is on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah and Hajj starts on the 8th. So on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah you make your way to Mina. Now there's 3 places that you have to kind of 4 places you have to kind of migrate between through the process of Hajj. So there is Mina, which is like where all like the white camps are. There is what comes next? Arafat, which is like, again, it's white camps. So the 9th of Dhul Hijjah you spend in Arafat, and then there's Muzdalifah, which is where you spend the night, and then obviously Haram Sharif, where the Kaaba is, where you come to finish your Hajj. And in Mina there's the 3 pillars, like which are considered the shaitan, which you go and throw pebbles at. So these 3 places, I want to say, I don't know how far the distance is, but they're close. But because they're huge spaces, they can seem quite far away. I would say it's like Tottenham Court Road, Marble Arch, Paddington. That's I don't know if that's an accurate representation of the distances, but that's kind of what they're like. They're right next to each other, but they're like huge spaces. So we travelled by train between all 3 spaces. There is a specific train that goes between all 3 stops. And then for like each area, so for Mina there was 3 zones, for Muzdalifah there was 3 zones, and for Arafat there was 3 zones. So like I think we were in Mina 3, and then our camp for Arafat was Arafat 3. So yeah, that kind of shows you how big they are. And from each zone I think it took us about 10 minutes on the train. So obviously on coaches it can take longer because the road's blocked up, and there are some people who walk as well, and walking takes a lot longer. So the process, the first day on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, you go to your camp in Mina. That's like where you are with your group. So in our room, I will try and include a little clip. I didn't want to film when the girls were in there because obviously they're not always properly dressed or wearing their scarves. So I did try and get a little clip, so I will insert that here if I can. In our room there were 16 of us, and I was on a top bunk. Yay, I haven't slept on a top bunk in about 15 years. So it was a fresh experience. It was so funny because Fazan rang me when he got to his camp and he was like, it's like 20 man deep in here, and I was like, at least you're not on a top bunk, babe. So obviously it is like camp-like conditions, and in terms of bathrooms, like everything was clean. The food was, for our camp, the food they served on site 3 times a day. There were snacks throughout the day, there was cold drinks, like whatever you wanted you had throughout the day. Bathroom facilities were always kept clean. There was, I think, about 10 or 12 toilets with showers as well. But there was about, I didn't count, but roughly I would say 400 to 500 women in on our side. It didn't feel like it during the day sometimes, but when we all went to Arafat and like everybody was like in 2 big rooms, I was like, wow, this is a lot of women. So yeah, so the first day you go to your camp in Mina, you take your basic stuff with you, you're in your state of your Ihram. That's where your Hajj journey begins. Then the next, you stay the first night in Mina, then I can't remember if it was before Fajr or after Fajr, you make your way to Arafat. So you want to be in Arafat for the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, which was the Monday. The day of Arafat is a day where the Prophet, peace be upon him, said you pray Dhuhr and Asr and Salat together. And so we prayed it at Dhuhr time, and like the shortened version, the Qasr version, the version that travellers pray, we prayed that. And then between that time and Maghrib time, you just make dua. Like the whole purpose of being in Arafat is just to make dua. And I literally, like, I told everybody to text me their duas. I had everybody's duas written down, and it was literally like, I think I managed to make each dua 3 times, I think. But I literally ticked off everyone, like friends, family, people in our community, people on Instagram, just anyone and everyone that I could think of, anything that anyone had asked, anything that I think anyone needed, like I just went off the list. So that's what that time there is for. And then you leave Arafat after Maghrib and you make your way to Muzdalifah. I will include clips here if I can of us making our journey. I think this is our journey from Mina to Arafat. The journey from Mina to Arafat was quite simple because I think it was like you have specific times and each group leaves at a specific time. So whilst we did wait around a lot, it didn't take too long. I reckon about a couple of hours max. There wasn't too much walking, and obviously because it was still nighttime, it was really cool. Not really cool, but it wasn't as hot as it during the day. So that was pretty simple. Is when we left Arafat to go to Muzdalifah. Muzdalifah is where you spend the night. Even though obviously you go after Maghrib, so it is dark. I've never ever seen that many people in my life. Okay, now it's working out. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, where did I get to? Yeah, so when we arrived at Muzdalifah, there was just so many people. When we got off the train, there was like hundreds and hundreds of people getting off the trains. There's like all of these bridges and people coming down bridges, and there was all of these coaches and people coming off coaches. Like I've never seen that many people. Getting from Arafat to Muzdalifah, I reckon, took us about 3 hours maybe. It's not like there's a huge amount of walking. There's a lot of waiting around because they want to try and like make sure there's obviously like not a stampede of people and people aren't getting squashed and that everybody's going to the right destinations. They try and control you in your groups when you're leaving one place to go to another. But like when we arrived at Muzdalifah, where you spend the night, everybody got lost. Like we just lost our group. Thankfully, you have flags everywhere. So we just looked out for our flag and we managed to like find where the rest of our group was, and it was fine. But there was just people going left, right, centre, everywhere. And in Muzdalifah, people were just literally like lying down in the middle of the street. And I just didn't understand why. And I was like, are they not here with a group? Like, why are they doing this? And then I was told afterwards, you have to go with a group. There is no way you can do Hajj without a group. You have to go with a group firstly. All of the groups from all of the different countries are registered, so they have to have a license so that they can like do everything properly. And the reason that there was people like sleeping out on the streets is because that's where their coaches were dropping them, and they were going to pick them up from there as well, and they didn't want to walk all the way to their camp because it was too far, so they would much rather just lie there and be close to their coach on the way back. So that night we spent in Muzdalifah. The camp in Mina, alhamdulillah, great. Like a lot of people have asked about hygiene and cleanliness. That depends on your like group provider and like how clean the facilities are. On the whole, in general, if you're going from the UK or the US or Canada, you tend to have better and cleaner facilities because they charge you more money and they provide you better facilities, and it's safe. For example, if you're going from somewhere like Pakistan or India. That's the first thing. So Mina and Arafat are facilities, alhamdulillah, they were fine. In Muzdalifah, there is no facilities, so everybody's kind of just out in the open. And the toilets there, like I used them, but they weren't clean. They weren't great. Did I have to make wudu? No, I didn't have to make wudu, so that was a plus because it's very hard to tell what's clean and what's not, so like how you're supposed to clean yourself. So we spent the night in Muzdalifah, and then we left like I think just before Fajr. Yeah, we left just before Fajr, and then on the way back to our camp we went to Gerrard Bridge, which is where the 3 pillars are, which you stone. So this was on the morning of the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. So this is Eid day. You stone just the big pillar with 7 stones that you picked up from Muzdalifah. Some people argue that you don't have to pick them up from Muzdalifah, you can use any 7 pebbles. Some people say no, they have to be from Muzdalifah. So it just really depends on your understanding and your school of thought. But we stoned the pillar 7 times, and then we made our way back to the camp. And then once your Qurbani is done, you can leave your state of Ihram. So the men go and shave their hair. Once the men have shaved their hair, the women clip a little bit of their hair, and then that's it. Like most of the rules, I think there's 1 or 2 that stay. Most of the rules of Ihram are lifted, and you can go and do whatever you need to do. And then it's Eid day. And then in order to complete your Hajj, what you have to do is you have to go to Haram Sharif, you have to go to the Kaaba, you have to do your 7 laps around the Kaaba, your tawaf, and then you have to go do your say, which is your 7 laps between Mount Safa and Mount Marwa. To be honest, we did those on the Wednesday, and to be honest, it wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. We managed to do our tawaf in about 1 hour, which is crazy considering that there's like millions and millions of people, well, not millions and millions, but hundreds of thousands of people there. And like when you see it on TV, everybody looks really cramped and it looks like people aren't moving. But actually, no, it was fine. It's just the only bit that gets really cramped when you're trying to do your tawaf around the Kaaba is the black stone is where the laps begin. So everybody's either trying to get in to the crowd at that place or leave the crowd. So you always get congestion there. But the rest of the lap was absolutely fine. And even there, like, me and Fazan tried to be sensible. Like, when we were joining, we would join like slowly. And then when we were leaving, we'd make sure that, like, for our 6th lap, we got to the outer circle so that when we were leaving, it was just easier for us to leave. And then after that, you go back to Mina and you stay in Mina for another 2 or 3 days. And then on the 11th and the 12th, you go back to Gerrard Bridge and you stone all 3 pillars. The stoning of the pillars I thought was going to be super, super cramped. It wasn't. Like one day, I think it was the 3rd day, we went and there was like no, like half the pillar was empty. There was like no one there. If I've got the video, I'll put it in. And I was like, stand here, I'll take a picture of it. Like, I just couldn't believe it. Like, the way you hear it, the way you hear people, it's like everybody's pushing and shoving. It was not like that at all. It was really, really quiet. The space is huge. And they're continuing to expand to make room for more people. I think this year they had 2.7 million people. The official number is 2.2. I think that's the capacity that they have. But they have a lot of people who just go. So who are not registered, who are not with a group. They go way in advance and they kind of just hang around Makkah until Hajj period starts. There's nothing you can do about it. So they are the people that you will see that won't be with a group, won't be in a camp, will be here, there, everywhere. But yeah, that's basically what Hajj involves. It's not as hard or as difficult or as confusing as I thought it was before I went. And now that I've done it, I'm really like, I want to go do it again because at least next time I know and I'm prepared and I feel like I'll get a lot more out of it. So yeah, that's like the whole process. I'm going to go through the questions now because I can't remember them. I feel like I've been sat here talking for ages. So let me open up the questions and then I'll answer the ones that were most asked. Okay, so obviously, what is the order that you do things? And I've explained that. What was the most difficult thing you experienced? For me personally, the most difficult thing was the heat. I'm not good with heat at all. On some days it was hitting like 45, 47, so that's what I struggled with. But even that, like, it's bearable. Like when you're in the camps and stuff, normally you have AC. In the Haram Sharif, you've got all of the fans and the ACs on. In the evening time, at Maghrib time, there's a lovely breeze. There's always a really nice breeze, so it's not like it's, there's no breeze and you're not getting any wind. And then there was one particular day where we had to go do the stoning at like 1 o'clock, and I was dreading it. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to, like, just the thought of going out into that heat. And then when we went out, it was fine. Like, obviously I was hot, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I was really, really surprised. So I was like, it is bearable, like, it's doable, you can do it. And the crazy thing is that day when we were climbing up Gerrard Bridge to go do the stoning, in my head all I could think was like, if I thought this heat was bad, if I'm struggling with this heat, imagine on the Day of Judgment when you know, we're trying to cross the bridge and like the sun is so low, like how are we gonna deal with that? So I think little things like that experience is so good, because it helps you to put like everything else in perspective. So yeah. How hard is Safa and Marwa? So Safa and Marwa are the two mountains that you have to walk between. I don't think it's hard at all. Like the length, it's not far. It's just the hardest thing is that there's so many people. So like you're constantly kind of like, you know, getting in front of people, getting behind people, and as you turning, you have to make a dua. And at that point, when everybody's trying to make their dua, people get squashed. Even that wasn't hard. Even that was bearable. I think for me, the hardest thing was when you're in the process of doing all of these things. If you need the toilet, or if you know you need to go make wudu, you have to completely leave the area. And like one day we left. I think it was when we were doing an umrah. We left, and instead of coming back and going out this way, we left that way, and we literally were walking at, like, I'd never been to this side of the mosque. Like we were literally walking for ages and ages. I think it took, like, the detour took us like over a whole hour, because they had certain parts of the mosque blocked because they want people to be going in one direction, so that, you know, there's no, like, people are not getting squashed and there isn't a stampede. But yeah, I think that for me is the hardest part, like the having to leave for the facilities more than anything else. What changes will you make Islamically in your life? So a lot of people have said this, and I've had a lot of like comments on Instagram, like, why are you wearing makeup again, and like, why are you wearing these clothes, blah blah blah. And the way I see it is, if you are not happy with something in your life, if you think something is not Islamically correct, fix it. Why do you need to go on Hajj to fix it? You know, like, fix it now, fix it while you can. Like, the decisions I make, I'm happy with those decisions. I'm happy with my intention and my niyyah behind those decisions. You know, and going to Hajj and coming back isn't going to make me change those. I don't like this concept, and I feel like, I don't know about other countries, but I feel like it is like a very UK concept where young people are like, oh, I don't want to go to Hajj because I do X, Y, and Z, and like, when I come back, I'm going to have to stop those. And it's just like, it's an obligation on you. You should go, you should do it, and like, you should try and stop those things anyway, whether you're going or not. You should always be trying to make yourself a better person and a better Muslim. Like, for us, there are things that we're working on. Like, one of the things that we're really consciously working on is not listening to music. So we said no music in the house, no music in the car. When you're out and about, when you're in shops, you can't help it. It's playing. Like, what are you supposed to do? You know, so it's like, we are trying. There are little things that we are trying to tweak, but then at the same time, there are other things where we feel like they're fine, and they might not be for other people, and there might be decisions that other people would take differently. But that's why everybody's relationship with God is unique, you know. What medicine did you use for your monthly cycle? I have no idea. I literally just rang the doctor up and I was like, I'm going on Hajj, I need something so that I don't come on my period whilst I'm there. And she gave me these pills, and I had to take them 3 times a day. Oh my God, trying to remember to take them was horrible. Like, literally I'd be like, how many have I taken today? Like, some days I couldn't even remember whether I'd taken all 3 or whether I hadn't taken any. But yeah, you can just, it's so easy to literally ring the doctor up and get those. Any advice for health, or what to take or what not to take? So for health, literally, like, take all of the medications you can. We literally had everything. To be honest, we didn't really need to use a lot of it until we went to Medina and we got really sick. But like, obviously, like, flu and cold tablets, lockets, strepsils, diarrhea tablets. Like, you get these tablets to give you energy back once you've had diarrhea, like if you lose too much liquids from your body. Lucozade, Pro Plus, Nurofen. I take the red ones, like, so they're really strong. Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. In terms of packing, I went online and I looked at like a few different websites and made a list, and then decided from there what we needed. So obviously, if you're going, that's my best recommendation. In terms of overpacking, I did overpack, but I took the wrong stuff. So do take a lot of clothes. What a lot of people did, and what I did as well, actually, was just wash my clothes in the sink there. So because it's so hot during the day, you can wash your clothes and then just put them back out and they dry, and then you can rewear stuff. In terms of clothing, I would recommend loose trousers, so either like cotton plazos or jersey plazos, or like even pajama tops and bottoms. Really, really good. T-shirts and vests. One day, literally, it was so hot, I wore plaza pants and a vest top, and then I had like I don't know what it's called, a lot of Indonesian and Malaysian women wear it. It's like the one-piece scarf with like the arms and stuff. I bought it from Saudi. It cost me like £8. It was an absolute lifesaver. That's what I wore most of the time when I was out. with it like into the bar underneath. And on this one particular day I was like, I can't be bothered to like layer up. Literally wore it on top of the vest. You know, I was like really cool but still fully covered. Anything you would do differently? I would memorize all the du'a. So I had sorry, I had a Hajj book which told me exactly what I needed, like when I got there, what I needed to read when I put my ihram on, what I needed to read when I was stoning, what I needed to do for Arafat and Muzdalifah, what I needed to do for Tawaf and for the Say. So everything was written down, but I think if I went again, I would make sure that I memorized those du'as in advance so that like I'm just reading them. I'm not having to constantly look at anything. Did you take Noah with you? If not, who did you leave him with? Lots of questions about Noah. No, I didn't take him. It never crossed my mind to take him. My mum had him. If my mum couldn't look after him, my mother-in-law would, but she was in Pakistan. Otherwise, I would have left him with one of my aunts, one of my cousins, my gran, someone. I would never, ever, ever take a child. I don't think Hajj is a place for a child. I think there's too many people, there's too many illnesses, it's too hot, and I feel like a child is a huge distraction. You're there to bet yourself and like strengthen your iman, and I just felt like a child was distract from that. That being said, like I saw children there, not loads, but I saw children there, and I kept saying like I don't understand why. And then one of the women in my camp said to me, like, people in Egypt, for example, they only have a chance to get a Hajj visa once every 15 years. That's how long the wait list is. So if you have your chance for Hajj, if you get your visa and you have no one to leave your child with, you're going to take your child. Like, you're not going to risk having to wait another 15 years to get your visa again. So I do understand why some people, they've got no one to leave their child with. That's what they have to do. What was your favourite part of the whole experience? For me personally, it was like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I'm always rush. Like, even the way I talk quick. Like, when I'm doing something in the back of my head, I'm always like, I still need to do that, still need to do that, still need to do that. So for me, it was an opportunity to switch off. I never get to switch off. Especially like working for myself as well. I'm always thinking about things that I need to do. I'm always stressing about stuff. So I completely switched off. I didn't care about what day it was, what time it was. I didn't need to care about posting. I knew Noah was in safe hands, so I didn't need to care about him. It was literally just about me and my salah. Because the women's camp and the men's camp were separate, I wasn't even with Fazan, so it was kind of on my own. And like the women in my camp were really, really friendly, but kind of just kept myself to myself. Like I read like Quran between my salahs, I did prayers. Like it was just, for me, it was like a spiritual detox, spiritual cleanse. Like I really just got to switch off from everything else and just focus on my relationship with God. And for me, I really needed that. Like I haven't been going through a great spell when it comes to religion over the last few months, and I feel like I needed this just to remind myself of things. How many days did you go for? So we went for a total of 12 days. It was obviously a quick trip because I didn't want to leave Noah for too long, and then we've got work commitments as well. How did you cope without your baby? In Makkah, to be honest, alhamdulillah, I was fine. Like, I missed him, of course I missed him, but I knew he was in good hands. And you're focusing on what you're there for. Like, your attention is on what you're doing, the whole reason that you're there. Like, that comes first. And you're so distracted with what you're doing, and, like, you just have this, like, huge connection with God at the time. And, like, nothing else matters. You literally forget about everything else. You stop caring about everything else. And I think, for me, that was hugely important because it just made me realise that I spend so much time worrying and stressing about things in life that I don't need to worry and stress about. I'm a huge like worrier and over planner and stuff. So having that experience of just not really caring about anything else was really good for me. But yeah, that's how I managed to cope without him in Makkah. It was a lot harder when we went to Medina because in Medina we didn't really have a schedule. It was just us, like whatever we wanted to do. If we wanted to go to the mosque, we went to the mosque. If we wanted to stay at the hotel, we stayed at the hotel. If we wanted to go shopping, we went shopping. So in Medina it was a lot harder. Was the whole journey hard in terms of the walking or the rituals? I don't think it was hard. At the time, I was like, oh, this is tough. But now I look back and I was like, actually, it wasn't that hard. I just feel like I wasn't mentally ready for it. So inshallah, next time, I do really want to go again. Inshallah, next time, I'm going to make sure I'm a lot more prepared for it. And in terms of walking, people say there's loads of walking. I felt like, yes, there was walking, but it wasn't loads of walking. I felt like it was more waiting around. Like one day, the journey that we were walking, if I walked, we could have probably walked in maybe half an hour, I reckon. But because we had to wait around, we had to wait for one group to move and then another group to move, and because there were so many people, it took us about an hour and a half. But it was a lot of standing around as opposed to a lot of walking. What was your first thought when you saw the Kaaba for the first time? I've actually been on Umrah before, so I've seen the Kaaba before, but just seeing it for the first time, it's like you forget how big it is, firstly. And I feel like, I don't know, it's just, you get mesmerised. It's like every time you're at home and you sit down or you stand up to pray, to do your salah, you have a picture of your Kaaba, or like you have the intention that you're facing the Kaaba, and then suddenly you're there and it's in front of you and like you're walking all around it, and it's a little bit surreal. Like even now I still like dream about it and think about it, and it's like going to be in front of my eyes for a while, and I think it's quite hard as well when you come back and you're like, oh, like it's not there anymore, it's not easily accessible, you know. And it's not the same when you see it on TV and in pictures. When you see it in real life, it's a completely different experience. Okay, so the last question. How has Hajj had an impact on your faith, made you reflect on modesty, social media, etc.? So like I said earlier, obviously, I believe that if you're going to change, if there's things you're not happy with your life, you should do them regardless of whether you're going to Hajj or not. You shouldn't wait till you go to Hajj. But that being said, I've been really surprised at how empty I feel since I've been back. Like, I'm on my period, so I can't pray anyway. Maybe if I was praying, it would be slightly different. But since I've been back, it's a bit like, oh, is this it? Like, I wanted to come back. I really miss Noah. But in my head, I'm like, oh, what was the rush? Like, I should have just stayed there longer. I should have made the most of it. And I feel like, because it was such a spiritual high, and I don't feel like I've ever had such a spiritual high, that now that I'm back and I'm back to reality, and I'm like back at home in my own neighborhood, watching Netflix, like unboxing makeup packages, I'm like, is this it? Like, I feel like I need more. I feel like my heart needs more, my soul needs more. So I do feel like there are going to be changes. There are going to be changes in the way that I do things, the way that I carry myself. I feel like on a bigger level, it's grown my faith in terms of like, I don't think I'll stress as much anymore. I feel like I kind of will leave everything, like you're supposed to leave everything to God anyway normally, but I feel like I will actually do it now, because just that whole experience has made me realise that, you know, He is the giver and provider of life. He is the sustainer, and we should always be relying on Him for everything. Like, you go, you work, you do the best you can in every situation, but you have that faith that God will provide. So I feel like that for me has changed. My perspective on that has changed. And I do feel like it is going to have a bigger impact. And I didn't think it would. Like, since I've been back, the way that I've been feeling, I feel like I need to do more for my soul and for my spirit, as opposed to just what I'm doing at the moment. I feel like maybe the things that I'm doing in my life at the moment are very superficial, very one level, and I feel like I need something more meaningful. So let's see. I've got some plans, inshallah, to do some stuff, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, I feel like I'm really rambling, and Fazan's just come back with the food, so I'm hungry. So I'm gonna leave you guys here for now. If you do have any other questions, leave them in the comments. I will try and reply. It just gets really hard with Noah. So yeah, I will try and reply, and I will try and be more on top of filming videos this month, inshallah. So yeah, make sure you subscribe. I'll see you all soon.